The Galactic Academy's Xenobiology 301 class had always been a showcase of the gentle and the docile. Professor Zixthar, a towering Krellin with iridescent scales, had organized the annual companion species presentation for 200 cycles without incident. That streak was about to end. Johnson sat in the back of the amphitheater, a slight smile playing on his lips as he watched his classmates present their pets. The human was new to the Academy, one of the first of his species to join after Earth's recent admission to the Galactic Council. Next to him, his girlfriend, Alina, a graceful Valorian with luminescent blue skin, squeezed his hand nervously. "Are you absolutely certain about this?" she whispered, her bioluminescent patterns flickering with anxiety. "Trust me," Johnson replied, his dark eyes twinkling with mischief. On the presentation platform, a Threxian student named Corvell was showing off his pet, a fluffy, six-legged creature called a puffball that made melodious chirping sounds and floated gently using internal gas sacs. The class cooed in appreciation as the puffball nuzzled against Corvell's chest plate. Next came a Saurian with her glimmer moth, a creature with wings that sparkled like stardust and fed exclusively on flower nectar. Then a Dularian presented his comfort blob, a gelatinous being that purred when touched and was renowned across the galaxy for its therapeutic properties. Professor Zixthar beamed with satisfaction. "Excellent presentation, students. These are perfect examples of how civilized species choose companions that reflect peace and harmony." His three eyes swiveled toward the back of the room. "Johnson, I believe you're next. What companion have you brought from Earth?" The room fell silent as Johnson stood. Every species in the Academy had heard rumors about humans. Their homeworld was classified as a death world, a rare category reserved for planets so hostile that the fact any intelligent life had evolved there defied probability. But surely their pets would be harmless. Johnson walked to the platform, a large covered container in his arms. Alina followed close behind, though her concerned expression hadn't diminished. "Professor, classmates," Johnson began, setting the container down. "I'd like to introduce you to my companion. Her name is Shadow." He lifted the cover. What emerged made half the class recoil in terror. Shadow was a German shepherd, 65 pounds of muscle, fur, and predatory efficiency. Her amber eyes scanned the room with the calculated gaze of a hunter. Her ears stood erect, alert to every sound. When she opened her mouth to pant, rows of sharp white teeth gleamed under the amphitheater's lights. "By the void." Professor Zixthar stumbled backward. "That's a predator." "Well, yes," Johnson said casually, stroking Shadow's head. "She's a dog. Canis familiaris. Descended from wolves." "Wolves?" squeaked a small Pixian student from the front row. "As in pack-hunting carnivores?" "The very same," Johnson confirmed cheerfully. Shadow sat obediently at his command, though her alert posture and scanning eyes made several students nervous. Dogs have been humanity's companions for over 30,000 years. The classroom erupted in chaos. Students were backing away, some climbing over their desks. The Threxian's puffball deflated in fear and hid inside its owner's backpack. The glimmer moth fainted mid-flight. 30,000 years? Professor Zixthar's scales had turned a pale shade of shock. "You've been living with predators for 30 millennia? Alina stepped forward, her confidence growing as she saw Johnson's comfort with the situation. "It's actually quite fascinating, Professor." "May I?" Johnson nodded and Alina continued. "I've been studying Earth's history. Humans didn't just live alongside dogs, they co-evolved with them. Dogs helped humans hunt, protected their settlements, and in return, humans provided food and shelter. It's one of the most successful symbiotic relationships in known biology." "Symbiotic?" The professor's voice cracked. "That creature has teeth designed for tearing flesh." "She does," Johnson agreed. "Watch this, though." He pulled out a small ball from his pocket. "Shadow, fetch!" He threw the ball across the amphitheater. Shadow's entire demeanor changed. Her ears perked up, her tail began wagging furiously, and she bounded after the ball with evident joy. She retrieved it and returned to Johnson, sitting politely and offering the ball with what could only be described as a proud expression. The class watched in stunned silence. "Again," called out a brave Dularian student. Johnson obliged, and Shadow repeated the performance. This time, when she returned, her tongue lolled out in a happy pant and her tail wagged so enthusiastically her entire rear end wiggled. "She looks happy," observed Corvell cautiously. "She is," Alina said. stepping forward to pet Shadow herself, demonstrating to the class that even a non-human could interact safely with the animal. Dogs are intensely loyal and affectionate. They bond with their families. Humans have bred different varieties for different purposes, some for herding, some for protection, some just for companionship. But the teeth, Professor Zixthar protested weakly, are mostly used for chewing toys nowadays, Johnson said. He pulled out a rope toy and Shadow immediately engaged in a gentle game of tug-of-war with him. Dogs in human society are family members. They sleep in our beds, play with our children, and some even work alongside us in rescue operations, law enforcement, and therapy. Therapy? The professor's academic curiosity was beginning to override his fear. A predator provides therapy? Studies show that petting a dog lowers blood pressure and reduces stress, Alina explained, pulling up data on her holographic display. They provide emotional support. During Earth's various conflicts and disasters, therapy dogs have been crucial for helping humans cope with trauma. Johnson sat down on the platform, and Shadow immediately laid her head in his lap, gazing up at him with adoring eyes. The transformation from alert predator to affectionate companion was striking. "This is the most human thing I've ever witnessed," Professor Zixthar said slowly, his scales gradually returning to their normal color. Only a species from a death world would domesticate an apex predator and turn it into a source of comfort. "We also domesticated cats," Johnson added helpfully. "They're smaller but arguably more ruthless hunters." The professor's scales flickered through several colors of distress. Slowly, cautiously, students began to approach. The first was Corvell, who extended a tentative claw. Shadow sniffed it curiously, then licked it. The Threxian jerked back in surprise, then laughed, a chittering sound of delight. "She's soft," he exclaimed. Soon a small crowd had gathered around Shadow, who basked in the attention with the patience of a creature born to be humanity's companion. Even Professor Zixthar eventually approached, allowing Shadow to sniff his scaled hand. "Remarkable," he murmured. "Absolutely remarkable. Johnson, I believe you've taught us something important today about human nature, and perhaps about the very meaning of companionship." Alina squeezed Johnson's shoulder proudly. "Humans don't just survive on death worlds," she said. "They make friends there." Johnson grinned. "Wait until next semester when I tell you about horses." Professor Zixthar's scales turned pale again.